All right, Coach Rod here. Today we are going to be breaking down NPC Bikini. This is a novice class that also contains the overall winner. So I really want to highlight this for you, what you might be seeing on stage for some of your first events in bikini. Could be, your 5th, your 10th events, but what is happening right now today on stages across the NPC and bikini division, and how is that going to help you? So we'll break down these placings. We'll dive into each physique and kind of talk a little bit about why they landed the way they did, and ultimately how that's going to give you an advantage, a better season, a better focus, better success on stage next year. All right, so let's get down to it. This is NPC West Michigan Championships, and this is novice, keep in mind, but we have Kaelin, okay? She's the winner of this. She actually won the overall of the whole event, so very big placing for her. Great job. We have over here Arisa. She's also, got a great physique, coming in second. We're going to look over here at third, and that's Mandy. And then, we'll dive into fourth, and we're going to continue down in those placings. There are 4 competitors in this class, and this will give you very good insight. For those that don't know, novice is, for competitors that basically are going to be in the first kind of grouping, right? You may have done a few other shows, but if you didn't place well, you could come and do novice. Otherwise, you're not really in novice for that long after you actually, do well in events. So it's one of those times where, some of these competitors may be their very first show. And that's the case in this type of a division. True novice, however, is the only division where, it can truly be your first show. Okay, so let's look at it. So Kaelin here, she's got great overall shape and structure. We can see good shoulder development, great taper in at the midsection, and the lower body just balances back out and creates that symmetrical hourglass shape. That's what we're going to see across the board here. However, she does exemplify a lot of differences from what we're going to see with the other athletes in this group, right? So that shoulder roundness and fullness, really key and critical in this division. You want to make sure you have that. She's got great fullness to the shoulders, good shape, and that's what creates this top piece of that hourglass. The next thing, and we don't always talk about it on bikini competitors, but I keep finding myself talking about it a little bit more and more, is actually the lat sweep, right? So back in bikini, not really a big focus. Judges are not judging it. Your hair's down. They're not looking for it. Sometimes it actually hurts you if they do see it, because maybe it's looking a little too big or too lean or whatever, and that can throw off your scoring. But, in the front pose, lats actually do help a lot if you have wide lats. So if you got that wide lat like Kaelin does here, that creates this aesthetic where it does sweep us, in a V-tapered sense down into the waist. And key, obviously, is to have a very narrow waist, which she does very, very well. Next point I want to make on her physique is oblique, right? She has a great oblique line here. A lot of athletes get worried about their obliques. They worry they're too thick, they're too big, they're too dense. A lot of times, though, actually, if you're showing a good oblique line like that, that's fullness to that oblique. Obviously with proper condition, but she really does have, a good amount of muscle there. And keep in mind, she's not only winning this novice class, she's also won the overall at this event. So these things combine, that lat with the oblique, with a very narrow waist, with that good shoulder development. It is a total slam dunk, bikini look, really, right from the start. Now, lower body wise, what you should see in this division is that everything kind of exemplifies, it fills back out, and it is in symmetry to what's going on up top. So glute structure, balance with quads and hamstrings, everything here. So I will say on her physique, I do get a little bit more quad than I do glute, right? I think she needs to kind of bring up her glutes a little bit more, add a little bit more of that upper glute fullness there. But honestly, she has a lot of good shape, a lot of good muscle, lower body, and it does tie in pretty well. Upper glute is the main thing that seems to be a little bit under here, and I'm sure when we get to the back, we'll see that clean up a little bit, but maybe just a tad quad dominant. I'm just giving notes for you out there watching what you need to know, but she is overall in this lineup definitely the most symmetrical, the most balanced, the most shape, and she has the tighter level of condition. That's the next thing we want to talk about. So in bikini, you don't want to be too shredded, you don't want to be too lean, you obviously don't want to be too soft. If you get too soft, you're not going to score well. If you're too lean, you're not going to score well. What we look for, right, is separations in the shoulders here where you may see, a little bit of that delt roundness and stuff like that, not striations, not deep cuts. Midsection needs to be flat. You don't need to have six-pack abs or anything like that, or even a hard oblique like she does. But everybody's structure is different. Everybody's genetics a little bit different. You're going to show that differently on stage. Lower body-wise, a little bit of that glute line and separation here in the quads and the hams. So she's definitely tightest to the group so far. She's definitely got the most muscle, the most shape, and hence that's how you win in bikini. Okay, that's really what judges are looking for right now. So Arisa over here, okay, she's got a lot of those same markers. She's got good shoulder shape, good taper in at the midsection. The lats are helping her a little bit there, not as much as Kaelin, but still it's there. Glute shape is there, quads, hamstrings, everything is tying in pretty well to, again, create that hourglass look. What I'll note right away, not as much muscle, right? So we don't see as much shoulder fullness here. We don't see as much glute development. We don't see as much hamstrings or quads. So this is, again, a lot of times what you'll see with competitors in the novice groups. You're going to be in classes where you might have more advanced athletes there, but most are going to be, it's going to be one of their first shows. It could be their very first show. So in that sense, a lot of times you are going to be a little bit under muscled, under conditioned. Her conditioning, it's on point, but it's a little bit soft. It's a little bit softer here than Kaelin for sure. And I think that's the biggest difference in those placings, is going to be the lack of the same muscle density, not as much shoulders, not as hard of a sweep in here, not as much muscle in the glutes. And then again, not as tight overall. So those are the areas, that she probably would want to work on to continue to advance, to go up the ladder. But again, keep in mind, I just give you guys all this feedback here on the channel to help you do better on stage. Everybody, phenomenal job. Anyone that steps on stage, I'm always a huge advocate of congratulations. That is, you are in a very small percent of people in the world that can do this, right? So congratulations. Now let's look over at Mandy. Okay, so Mandy, good overall shoulder shape here, tapers in at the midsection, lower body. We can see glutes, we can see quads, we can see hamstrings. She came in pretty lean. You can tell that right away. We got a little bit more of that shoulder going on. We got a little bit more of, kind of feathering going on in the lower body here, pretty tight in the midsection. We can see, a little bit of rib going there. So, she's definitely lean, but she still needs a little bit more muscle. I would say, honestly, her condition is pretty on point, but probably needs a little bit more of that shoulder fullness. Probably some posing tweaks too. We do run into this, right, where you see the pose here can look a little bit more up and down compared to over here, where it's a bigger, more dramatic hourglass. So posing may be a factor, but I think it's mostly muscle fullness. You want to have the muscle fullness come with the condition, because that's what creates the aesthetic of the hourglass, right? So her glutes look a little bit under here. Upper glute definitely looks a little bit under, and not as much fullness coming from her legs at all. Very lean on, honestly, probably right where she need to be for the show condition-wise, but needing to bring a little bit more of that fullness to the party to get that full look. Let's take a look from the back, though, because as I always say, no story's ever told completely until we see the back. So from here, Kaelin, the class winner, overall winner, creates that width, tapers in very, very well right here. Lower body, clearly looking developed. We can see, slight separation between the glute hamstring tie-in. This is what judges are looking for. And good balance between her legs. I will say that upper glute that I thought in, front was looking a little bit under, still looks just a little bit under here. More, development there would probably be a good idea. And her legs in general do look like they are a little bit ahead of where the glutes are at development-wise. So that's one of those things, as she advances, overall win, probably wants to go get a pro card, just stuff like that. You got to work on those little features to really enhance the physique, bring it out fully. And that's what gets you to that level, gets you those wins at that level, gets you to the pro card and beyond. But overall, great structure, great shape. It really showcases well. And, you can see the fullness from the shoulders and the back. Arms are not overpowering anything. Everything is there. It's another thing too that I may suggest, she would work on is evening out this conditioning, right? So she does look a little bit leaner up top than she does lower body, and that is something we see a lot with athletes. But basically that comes from, your muscle maturity, your muscle balance. If she actually improves the muscle balance down here, it may just tighten that conditioning up. But you do see that a lot with competitors. That's why I'm noting it, okay? Arisa over here, we do see, a little bit more of what I was saying when we looked at the front. Not as much of that shoulder fullness and roundness going on. Still great taper coming in. Lower body-wise, we're not getting a lot of that pop from the glute, right? Upper glute needs some more work there. Overall glute development, no tie-in really coming through here from a combination probably of being a bit under the muscle there, needing to add some more muscle mass, but also pulling in condition, right? She's definitely softer in the group. Still takes second, with great shape and great structure. Everything's there, but those are the areas to really look at to continue to improve. If we look over at Mandy now, Mandy, again, very lean, really pulled that look together. I mean, we can even see erectors going on in her back. But she overall does not have the right muscle fullness you would need. A little bit more shoulders, a little bit more, of that to really enhance that tapered look. More glute fullness here. You can see the upper glute needs, some more development. She is showing a tie-in here, but it'd be better to see that tie-in a bit fuller, more density there, more muscle density and fullness. Really going to be key there for her. But overall, again, pretty complete look. Does pull it off extremely well. Now, I want to talk about my free trial real quick, okay? This is a great opportunity. You get to train me free for 7 days. If these videos, I know a lot of you watching them, a lot of you are loving them. I have people come over to this trial all the time, teamfflex.com/7-day trial. Type it in on your phone right now. You can be in there chatting with me in my online coaching platform before this video ends, okay? It is an exclusive opportunity where I will take over everything for you. I will teach you whatever you want. Some people just come and they want a little bit of feedback, right? They're like, I don't need the training plan. I don't need all this. Okay, great. I can give you some feedback. I can give you, basically what I'm doing here on these videos live for you though, and give it to you that way so that you send a picture or whatever. I can assess it, tell you what to work on, blah, blah, blah. I do training splits. I build workouts. I build, your nutrition. I'll do whatever you need on the trial. I'm your coach free for 7 days. And I do this as a give back to the bodybuilding world, to the community, to all you viewers, everybody who's watching. I'm very, thankful to be able to be a coach in this industry, be successful and do what I'm doing. And this is my give back to you. We give you the trial so that you can experience it, you can enjoy it, you can go through it. And also this is something we are going to get rid of. Okay. That's coming very, very soon. It's December now. So I would say by January, this thing's going to be gone. Do not miss out. It could be any time. I may pull the trigger on it tomorrow. It could be in a month. I don't know, but don't miss out. Type this in. I guarantee you great things coming for you if you do it. Okay. All right. Let's go now to the final competitor here. We have one more competitor to look at. This is Hannah. Okay. So she is the fourth in this group and there was no fifth. So this was only 4 competitors in this class, but let's take a look. So Hannah has, good overall shape, definitely pulls in at the midsection, lower body. We see the muscle, the biggest things that stand out right away. Some of what we've been seeing in this class, again, pretty common in novice. Not as much of that shoulder shape coming through, right? Not as tight of a taper in at the midsection, not as much lower body development in the glutes, the quads, the hamstrings. A lot of times in novice, you got to build more. That's going to be the feedback for most competitors getting into novice, because a lot of times, competitors are getting their prep, they're getting on stage. Again, in that first group, they're beginning, they're still new to it. A lot of times your feedback is going to be go get some muscle, right? Get some more muscle. But yeah, that's why I'd say for her, a little more muscle fullness, a little shape there. That's going to enhance that hourglass. And also she does appear, a tad softer. So more of that pulling through in the shoulders, tighter in the midsection, more down in the lower body. Everything comes together. And then, again, posing tweaks. See that a lot in novice too, right? Everybody's kind of learning the poses still. You do run into that. From the back, it's going to be pretty much the same story here. We can see some shoulders. We can see some taper in. We do see the structure. But this is an athlete, that needs to probably add some more muscle, get in a little bit tighter, and, bring in that upper glute, overall development, tie in, pull it through, balance with the legs some more, bring the shoulders out, and that will create the most ideal hourglass look. This is something that, again, just happens in novice, so be prepared. But you also need to be prepared that maybe you're going to go up against Kaelin, right? Like that's the thing, because she's pretty dialed in, takes the overall at the show, and with some tweaks probably on her way to getting a pro card. So that's what I would say. Let me know. You guys want to see some more bikini? What do you want to see? Amateur level? You want to see pros? What is it? Comment it down below. Let me think on what you want, and I'll keep building it out for you, and it'll be great. If you have specific shows you've done, or maybe your friend's done or something, you want me to review that class, drop it in the comments. I review those comments. I add to my list, and I try to get it to them. There's a lot of videos. I don't get to them all, but I will do my best to get whatever you comment. All right. Thank you for watching. Coach Ryan is out.